is up, everyone, and welcome back to Baldmanreacts. Today, we're checking out 6 tracks from Chris, one of my Patreon subscribers here to the channel, and his VK playlist for the month. We've got 6 tracks on tap today, and I'm looking forward to getting into them. The first band is one that I certainly have not heard. It is the band Comodo Dragon. The track is Sodom. It's always interesting doing a bunch of VK bands together because VK is such a mixed bag sonically that I truly never know what I'm going to get from band to band. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's get into the music. The band is Comodo Dragon. The track is Sodom. And here we go. What do we have on tap, ladies and gentlemen? Alright. Electronic elements going on. Getting a bit of that Gazette feeling here. Very poppy. Like the melodic guitar lines going on. Really interesting shift into a blast there. Really like that spanky slap bass line going on back there. It's a really cool texture. Like those pinch harmonics being employed by the guitar players. Cool shift into that groove with the aggressive vocal going on. I like that piano going on in the back. There's a lot of elements being on display here and being utilized in the writing process. It's a really strong groove and it ties the rest of this stuff together very well. I really like that lick they're using for the rhythm there, actually. Like the vocal effects there. Big, strong riffs in this passage. Track is getting just heavier. I'm really starting to enjoy that. I like the shift from English to Japanese and back. I don't love the vocal effects on the cleans, but it works. It's a nice choice there to use the vocal effect to make it sound, vocal voice sound faint. I think that transition could have been a little more seamless. Alright, that was Comodo Dragon, and the track was Sodom. That's a really interesting way to start that out. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of elements being tossed in the VK blender there. You've got a lot of really interesting poppy elements. You've got those very heavy passages. And you've got a lot of different vocal textures. It certainly sounds similar to some of the other VK bands I've done on the channel. I get hints of Harlequin. I certainly get some of that Gazette and Dern Gray influence. And Some of the others, a little bit of the Diura, a little bit of the Misha Bray, a little bit of the, oh goodness, what's the name of the band? Oh, there's another one I've done a couple of tracks for, Deviloof. A little bit of Deviloof there as well. But it's a really interesting track, really solid. There's some really cool riff choices, some really cool things going on. I like that very spanky bass line, the obvious slap work. I like the fact that they were using a lead lick as a main riff for the second verse. That was a really cool touch. Drumming sounded good. I like the vocals. I think they were a little too many effects at points for my taste, but they certainly fit the atmosphere and the aesthetic they're going for. And overall, it was really solid. The overall mix volume was a bit low. I did have to adjust the volume a couple times to actually make it louder. So I'd like the overall mix to be up just a bit, but it didn't take away or detract from the enjoyment of the track. It was certainly a good one. The next one we're going to get into is Sadie. The track is Rainfall. And let's get back into it. Here we go. I like those riffs. Big and melodic. Definitely getting the very hot punk feels here. I like the vocals. He's got a big, powerful voice. I like those riffs a lot as well. I like that groove, the chunk of that riff there with some of those notes to bring it together. This does sound a tad formulaic, to be honest. Certainly writing to one of the more familiar visual K archetypes. Really like that melodic riffing there. I think the fake dreads on the bass player are an interesting touch. I was wondering if they were going to bring in that high-pitched aggressive or not. Bass player, they clearly designed his costume as that very new metal aesthetic. Really do like that strong harmony riff here in the chorus. The chorus is sugary, and it's really enjoyable. Very catchy. Every time I look at the bass player, it reminds me of Edsel from Dope. I like how rich that bass tone is. Alright. That was Sadie. The track was Rainfall. And it was enjoyable. It does feel a bit formulaic, having heard a lot of other Visual K. It certainly has that slightly Gothenburg sound with the melodic guitar work and those heavier, crunchy, chuggy rhythms. I certainly expected that high-pitched aggressive to come in at some point. I was wondering if and when and where it was going to. Enjoy the track. I like the vocals. The lyrics had that very familiar English to Japanese transition, but it worked. Now, it seems like there might have been a songwriter involved, possibly, because that archetype of Visual K is definitely there. But overall, it was an enjoyable track. The mix was strong. I like where everything was placed. Certainly like the vocals. Other than the high-pitched aggressive, it just wasn't. It wasn't as good as others I've heard, but it worked. Honestly, I feel like they could have left it out, and it would have had just as much impact to me personally. But overall, it's a solid track. I understand they broke up, and I believe that a couple of members are in the next band we're checking out in 13. I think I've done a video for this back in January, but I might have possibly either deleted it or locked it after the whole blocking, what was it, the copyright strike of early June, I believe it was, where Heggy and some of the other channels took copyright strikes from Maximum Hormone. So that might have been what happened. Either way, I don't think I've heard the track since I did it. So let's get into it. The band is 13. The track is Bites the Black. And here we go. Definitely getting those electronic and atmospheric elements coming in here. Synth work, strong. Big, aggressive vocal there. Look at those big, down-tuned, chuggy chords. It sounds a lot like In Flames with some of those harmonies there. Certainly get some of the DSS era Duran Gray influence all over this. I like that riff and I like that groove. Definitely very In Flames. I like some of the aggressive vocals. I think he's cleaned vocals are a bit stronger than his aggressive range. I really like the groove and the musicianship though. Good way to deliver that lyric though. Really strong delivery there. Good breakdown there. Just a strong, familiar groove. Drums sound like they've got some electronic help. They really do. They sound like there's some sample replacement there. Do like the atmospherics that are coming in. That scream there is just really processed. And this voice that he's employing here really reminds me a lot of Co. Interesting how the riff starts out during nu metal and then it really seamlessly morphs into the In Flames and the Gothenburg style of sound. Adding the synth elements in there is really good. It helps tone down that heavy growl. All right, that was 13. Track was Bites the Black. I think I like it better this time around than when I believe I did it before. But the Duran Gray influence on that track is obvious. It really is. You can really hear the very strong DSS era Duran Gray blueprint that's really heavily utilized here in that track. The very In Flames like melodic heavy guitar riffs, the vocal choices, the choices to go down low, to go and utilize those low to highs, and he sounds very similar in some ways to Co and his aggressives. And I gotta be honest, I feel like at points you can hear through the processing, and there's certainly some heavy vocal processing going on in the aggressives, that his voice sounds a little weak. It sounds like in a live environment he might really struggle to be able to nail those vocals. I like them. I can tell if they're processed heavily and they've been worked on, but I think they work. At the same time, as polished as this track is, if I want to hear something like this from VK, I'm probably going to go listen to DSS by Duran Gray. It's not as chaotic in a lot of respects. It's a more straightforward tune. The vocals aren't, you don't get the insane high-pitched squeals, but you can certainly hear the influence. And the more I learn about the VK scene, the more I truly wonder how much the writers are influenced by outside writers. Because some of these the bands that are doing this style of VK do get a little bit of that similarity in the sound. I don't always know what style of VK I'm going to get, but when they start doing this heavier sound, you can hear a lot of that similar sound. And some of the stuff I've been reading, I know there is a lot of upper management influence. So I'm really curious. It's a solid track. I certainly want to hear more from them. I enjoy it, but I'd be remiss if I didn't address the DEG influence. The next track we're going to check out is the band DEATHGAZE and the track ALLURE. I have not heard the band before, so I'm certainly looking forward to it. And here we go. Get some more of that very poppy sound here. Started off heavy. I thought we were going to get something a little heavier. Very down to gated tone on the guitars there. Definitely hear the vocal processing on the aggressives. Got a really interesting lower register. I'm not used to hearing this from a Japanese vocalist. Great drum work. Really strong fills. Kick certainly triggered a little quickie. Really like the way that riff's evolving. The difference between the aggressives and the poppy chorus certainly work well. Interesting flanger-like effects coming in there with the guitars. Cool. I didn't expect that. It's a great drum fill into a massive drop out there. Clean tone's really sparkly. Cymbal work's very clear. Really dig that. Really nice subtle rim shots there on the snare. Nope, I wish they would have done more with that clean passage. Wish we would have gotten a solo or something out of it. Get some of those big Pantera and Zakk Wylde-like pitch shifts. It's a cool touch. I like that vocal shift there, that almost scream to a bark back into the clean. He certainly manipulates his voice really well in those passages. wrist, certainly headbang too. Definitely dig it. That was DEATHGAZE. The track was ALLURE. Certainly alluring. You can hear the processing and the polish, but it works. His clean vocals, his clean range is really interesting. Simply because I don't feel like you hear that in a lot of Japanese music. Certainly not in VK. You get a lot of the typical higher range Japanese vocalists. So it's nice to hear a vocalist using a bit lower register. So I enjoy that. The tight gated riffing is starting to get familiar, but I liked it. It was heavy. I do wish, in some ways, I wish the guitars had a little more balls. Like, if they want it to be heavy and in your face, give it a little bit more punch. Doesn't necessarily need more gain. It just needs to sound a bit heavier. The drum work was stellar. Kicks sound like they were triggered. And I'm not sure how much sample replacement was used, but they sounded good. They were mixed well. I like the fact the drums sounded like a cohesive kit. That's a great thing. I would have liked to hear the bass a little bit more. The transitions were done well. There were some really cool passages. I liked that clean passage. It was a great drop. Though I wish we would have heard more. I wish they would have done more with it. Drop out, come into a really nice melodic solo, give us a little bit. That would have been cool. And I think it would add a little bit more to it. But overall, it was a really solid, really enjoyable track. And so far, Chris, I truly appreciate it, man. You've done a great job putting this list together because the songs are pacing with each other very well. And that's not easy to do. The next track is the band Despairs Ray. I believe I've done some Despairs Ray before. Track is Yami ni Furu. Kiseki? I'm completely butchered that. I do apologize. And here we go. I hate to say it, I kind of feel a little bit like I'm hearing the opening to Evanescence's Bring Me to Life. I really like those big synths. I like that strong alternative feel here. It's interesting to look at that you get a bit more of that late 70s, early 80s punk look with these guys. Really nice cymbal work. Really strong guitar accents to those leads. Definitely like that very spanky, clean tone. Really strong bass accents. Really heavy synth tones that are really adding to the atmosphere here. Good fills for the drummer. He's got an interesting voice. In a way, it almost sounds like it doesn't fit, but it works. that bass line. Love those tones. Really like how he's starting to push his voice. Really getting some great tones out of it. Some vocalists just sound better when they start to push and reach and force themselves to get into a different part of their range. And he really evokes emotion well. That rawness comes through. Outstanding. Great bass run. Like the subtle use of the China cymbals there. It's a pretty track. The lyrics are really disturbing. I like how the cymbals were punctuating those guitar riffs there. It's a really great touch to have the band locked in like that. It's a nice touch with the production there. To have an area mic on his voice, so its voice sounds very faint. Really captures that moment, makes even more of an emotional connection. That backing piano really just making this sound even better. The combination of the synth and the piano where it continues that emotional connection this track has fostered. I like that touch for a melodic lead. Just strumming those big chords, moving that shape down the fretboard. All right, that was Despair's Ray. That was Yami ni furu kiseki. I probably screwed that up, and I do apologize. Man, that was a good track. That was outstanding. Certainly got some of that punk edge, that alternative feel, with the bombast of like a symphonic track, with the big synth usage and the keyboard usage. The vocals in some parts, it's like they almost feel like they don't fit, like he's not in key or on pitch, but it really works. It makes you feel that rawness and that agony and the pain that they're trying to convey with the lyrics. And it's really nice for that to mesh up and make it work. All the musicians are really talented. The drummer is a monster. He's clearly technical and understands what he's doing. He's got a very great sense of how to make a track like that work. The amazing amount of bass accents and runs really, really work in that context. The fact that the guitar is intended to almost be an accent as opposed to really driving that track. The tone, even for a Les Paul style guitar, isn't very big, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to kind of have that punkish feel to it of just kind of hanging over the top without really truly being huge. I like the riffs. I think they work. The vocalist absolutely shines. He fosters and forms a connection with the listener. The point where he's got the mic down by his side to create that sense of the faint voice calling out really works the lyrics. So it's a great presentation. It's a great performance to a really strong, really enjoyable track. That's a great choice, Chris. I certainly appreciate that one. Like I said, I think I've done one from these guys. It's certainly nice to get back to them. That was highly enjoyable. The last and final song we have in this playlist is the band Screw. The song is The Abyss. I certainly hope we don't get screwed. Anyway, here we go. Right? Samples, electronic elements. The Abyss. I like the guitar tone. Ooh. Certainly got a bit of that new metal, almost Manson-like feel to it. You hear the fluctuations from the sample. Definitely has that early 2000s feel. I don't like the way the vocals are presented at all. It's changing styles a lot here. Kind of went into this slightly metalcore-like feel. The vocals are insanely overprocessed. Kind of shifted into that very poppy chorus here. Kind of expected. I like the lead passes. Pitch shifting on that guitar tone is interesting. Those vocals are just so processed, and they're not in the mix very well at all. They're almost they're fighting for space. The state, the moves of the musicians are very contrived here. It's interesting. very law-drenched harmony there. It's very familiar. I like that little bit of falsetto there. That drum sound, that kick sound is so clicky, so processed. That guitar accent isn't mixed well. It's supposed to be over the riff, not under the riff. Do like that riff. It's really familiar, but I like it. Alright, that was Screw. The track was The Abyss. I gotta be honest, I wasn't really too into that one. That can honestly go back into The Abyss. It started out, I thought we were going to get one thing, kind of morphed into another. I really don't like the way they overprocessed the vocals in the verse at all. I don't think it fits. You can barely hear them. And the track just doesn't have a strong mix. There's points where the harmony guitar lines are where they should be, above the riff, the main riff. But there's points at the end where they're under it. There's a lot of elements that are very familiar, and it just sounds like they're kind of tossed in where you would find them in a lot of tracks. The the performances in the video by the members seem very contrived. It almost feels like it's one of those things where they were told, hey, you act this way right here. You act that way right there. Don't like how clicky and processed that kick sound is. Unfortunately, if you watched any of my videos at this point, you know that I'm not really a fan of clicky kick sounds. That's a personal preference. I like to have a bit more balls and more of that deep resonance that bass drums are supposed that actually have. So there's that. The vocals, the clean vocals weren't bad. They weren't really strong. They certainly weren't the strongest here in the playlist. And I feel bad in a way because they were tacked right behind Despair's Ray, and that Despair's Ray track was awesome. So coming off the high of that really strong Despair's Ray track, and we're going into this, which was just honestly, it was kind of mediocre. Out of all of them, it's probably the track. It's probably a track that I wouldn't go back to. I think there was some strong musicianship, but overall, I didn't like the mix. I didn't like the aggressive vocals and how they were placed, and the track just sounded too familiar. We've heard entirely too many VK bands doing that sound, but doing it a little better. So there's certainly positives. Overall, the track sounds like it was influenced by a record label, and they might have been told, hey, write the track like this. Or they might have just been handed the track and said, here's your track, play it. Who knows? I know there's a lot of things that go down in the Japanese VK industry that don't always go down as much in other industries. Now, granted, that's not to say that they don't, because the American glam scene was full of that style of thing. So, anyway, overall, it was a really strong playlist. It was put together very well. It was enjoyable. Favorite tracks certainly would be Comodo Dragon in Sodom. DEATHGAZE and Allure, and Despair's Ray was probably the highlight. Certainly the one I enjoyed the most. out of all of them, with Comodo Dragon coming in right behind it. It's a great list. I certainly appreciate it, my friend. Thank you so much for the support and deciding to support me on Patreon. I have a Patreon for those of you guys that don't know. I don't try to push it. I really don't. If you want to support the channel, I am absolutely grateful. I have a new microphone coming because of the Patreon support. So I really truly appreciate that. You guys have been amazing and wanting to support me monetarily. I truly think the world of you guys. And brother, I can't wait to see what you decide to give me to do next month. Doing playlists like this are a blast. I certainly enjoy it and put a lot of thought into it. And the playlist was structured well and it flowed well. Hope those of you out there enjoy it. I'm sure that we will get some more VK from some of the other Patreons later on this month. Curious to see what Yami decides to drop in our lap because he always does a phenomenal job. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Chris, very much. Truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you all for the support. The channel is stronger than it has ever been, and I couldn't do it without all of you being here. Thank you to my law enforcement, military veterans, and first responders. I love you guys, and I appreciate you. As always, you have been awesome. I have been Baldman. I will see you in the next one. Be excellent to each other, and keep head back.